How's everybody doing? Let me get everybody admitted. I'm seeing some faces that I have seen a lot here. Welcome, welcome. It's going to take a couple minutes for me to let everybody in. Guys, we had almost 1,000 people register for this class today, and that is amazing. I am so excited. Tell me where you guys are from in the chat while we're waiting. It's probably going to take a couple minutes, especially if, now, I mean, obviously not all 1,000 people are going to show up because I had a lot of people say that, they're going to need the replay. But I have a feeling we're going to be a couple minutes with me just kind of admitting everyone into the room. So where are you guys coming from? India. Nice. Oh, Lancaster, you're not far from me. Northern Virginia, that's where I am. I'm Northern Virginia. I'll have to see where you're from. Mariah, is that how you pronounce your name? I'll have to see where you're from in Northern Virginia. All right, my gosh, people are just pouring in. Sorry, everybody. So I'm going to have you guys mute your microphones if you can. If you don't know and you're not used to Zoom and you don't know how to do that, just let me know and I can mute you myself. You also do not have to have your screen on if you don't want to. I know some people love it, some people don't. Don't feel like you have to. I got a lot of emails starting this about, hey, I haven't sold anything yet. I'm just starting out. So I want all of you all to know once we get started, once kind of everybody isn't still pouring into the meeting room and I feel like I can go ahead and get started, don't worry about that. We're going to talk all about that. And if any of you guys have been taken any of my courses or watched any of my free seminars or been on any sort of calls with me from different memberships that I've talked in, you know that I am here for everybody from the newbies to the seasoned veterans. And I promise that there's going to be something that everyone can learn. Now, in what I'd love to know in the chat too, how many of you guys feel like you're already like a Claude or a ChatGPT or an AI like veteran? Like you've got this down, you know what you're doing. Because I want you to know that this free session today is for people who are beginners. So there may be some things that you're going to already know. I encourage you to listen, and I'm going to be having some little tips and tricks. But my first two sessions, just, when you get the replay tomorrow, everyone will get this replay tomorrow with a PDF, with all the prompts, with everything that you can do. So if you would rather just watch during this session, that is also perfectly okay. I know people learn differently. So if you're someone that wants to sit back and kind of watch and listen and learn and see how I'm doing things and then actually do it tomorrow with the replay, that's perfectly fine. I did have a lot of people sign up within the last 24 hours. So if you were not able to kind of, get that prep worksheet and kind of get some of the stuff prepped and you don't feel like, frantically, two finger typing, trying to like get your information in during this session. Again, don't worry about it. All of this is going to be on the replay, all of it. You can redo and you can always email me if you have any questions. Awesome. So I am going to be using a free Claude uh, session today, just so that I can show you that this works on a free session. I will say this, and I do not say this lightly, because I know that times are tough. Money needs to be spent wisely, especially in a business. And I have not spent money wisely in my business before. I've hired people and hired, social media people and all these other things that haven't worked out. So I understand how important it is to spend wisely. But if you are serious about continuing with my CSL sessions, if you're serious about being able to use Claude as an assistant in your creative art business, and as I said, I don't say this lightly, but I would highly recommend $20 a month. If you pay for the year, it's $17 a month. It honestly is worth it, hands down. If you have $20 or that just to pay monthly and then you can cancel, or if you can afford to pay a year in advance, where you can get it for $17 a month, it greatly increases your usage. The next session that I have in 2 weeks, which is also completely free, just like this one, I'm going to be teaching you projects. I'm going to be teaching you prompting, things like that. And on the free plan, you're going to very quickly kind of use up your context window. You're going to use up what you can do. And Claude will give you that annoying, hey, come back in 3 hours. And you've probably seen the memes and everything on Instagram where people are like, oh, I have got to wait 3 hours. Why can't I do this now? So if you enjoyed the session today, I encourage all of you guys to come back again in 2 weeks when I do projects and proper prompting. Then, and if you want to wait till after that second session, which you can also do on a free plan, but there will be sessions. So what I did is I've created something called Creative Systems Lab. If you guys don't know me or this is the first time you've done anything with me, so my background is high tech. I was a programmer, I was a web designer. I also taught at the high school and college level in tech. And I left to be a stay-at-home mom to 3 kids. I homeschooled my kids up until high school. So this was my first year as a quote unquote empty nester. My youngest was a freshman in high school this year. So I officially had an empty nest from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. But I built my business while I was homeschooling, while I was doing all of these things. And the reason I was able to be as successful as I was is because I have set up systems, and systems are where it matters. So if some of you guys are just getting started, or some of you guys have been doing this for a while, you know that the fun part is the art, right? We love the art. That's why we got into this, okay? Whether we're drawing seamless patterns, whether we are focused more on spot graphics and wall art and greeting cards, or we have an Etsy shop or a fair shop or whatever it may be, we all got into this because we're artists. We want to draw. And I want to make sure that everyone on this call knows that I will never teach you or encourage you to create art with AI. That is not why we're here. But as you get going in this business and as your business starts to become more successful, you will find that the business side of all of this, whether it's social media, whether it's email funnels, whether it's, client proposals, whatever it is, the business side of this that all of us like to think will just do on its own ends up kind of sucking the life out of you. It just takes all of your time, and you'll slowly start to find that you're drawing less and less, and you're spending more time on the business side. And we are living in a time right now that is so amazing because we have the ability to create these AI assistants, which again are not going to create our art, but they're going to help us with the little things, the SEO, the email funnels, what should a lead magnet be? How can we create, what should we post on Instagram? How do we understand and look at our, if you'll hear a word called KPIs, key performance indicators. How do we actually read them properly, right? A lot of us aren't accountants and marketers and social media strategists and all these other things. So that's what Creative Systems Lab is going to be all about. And it's going to be 100% geared towards creative artists running businesses. So it's not going to be any sort of generic sessions or anything that you have to try to figure out how to connect it to your business. It's all going to be coming from me. I've been doing this for 10 years. I have been in big box stores. I license, I have collaborated, I have product, I've done all of the things. And I'm here to teach you guys how to take about 10 steps forward really quickly by utilizing AI. So today's session is going to be about the basics. And like I said, there will be some of you guys on here that already know what I'm teaching because this is going to be the basics. But sessions 1 and 2, I have geared them towards if that's all you ever want to do with me, that's perfectly fine. Session 1 and 2 are going to be all about setting up Claude to know your business, to understand your business, to be able to push back, to be able to think as a surface pattern designer or a graphic artist or an illustrator or a watercolor artist. So that's what we're going to work on now. So I'm going to be sharing my screen most of the time. And I am going to be answering questions as well. And I know there's probably a lot of you that are like, hey, I'm on ChatGPT or I'm on Gemini or I'm on Perplexity or I'm on one of these other gazillion AI platforms. And why are you on Claude? So I'm going to answer that as well. And if I have to click off every now and then, it'll be because people are still joining. But let me share my screen really quick. Let me move this over. Oops, hold on one sec. See, technology even messes me up every now and then. Okay, well, more people in the waiting room. Okay. All right, do you guys see that? Have I switched over? Okay. Let me make sure there is no one that I need to allow in. All right, so what we have here, so this is our session 1. This is our Creative Systems Lab session 1. We're going to set up your Claude for your creative business. And I'm going to be using a brand spanking new free account to show you that this does work on the free account. Did one thing I want to check really quick, did everyone do you have a tab open to the prompts that you will need if you are going to be following along? I know some of you aren't going to be following along, you're just going to be watching. But if you do want to follow along, I created a little website that would make it so much easier. You just have to click a little button and it's gonna copy those prompts for you. So I don't have to try to put them in the chat and then you'd have to scroll and try to find them. Yes, the prompts and your free account, you can have, just so you guys know, you can have the Claude.ai up in your browser window. Or if I know it prompts you to download the app, you can also just have it up in the app, and I'll show you kind of the difference between the two. So one of the things that I want to do with Creative Systems Lab is I want to make sure we all have had a million courses, right? We've all paid for courses. I myself have a whole list of courses that I've bought, and I will admit that I haven't opened half of them, or I've finished like a third of it and haven't finished it through. So what I want to do is all of my Creative Systems Lab, it's going to be live with me. So you can see me talking, you can see me if I run into a problem, you see it live, you see how I handle it. We ask questions. So my goal with Creative Systems Lab every single session is that you actually leave and walk away with something built, not just something learned. Because all of us, if we want to do this and we want to create this successful creative art business that we have, we need to start building, we need to start moving. And a lot of us, including myself back in the day, I was a habitual course taker. I don't know if anyone in here relates to that, but you keep thinking, well, it's just one more course I have to take. It's just one more course I have to take. It's one more Procreate brush set I have to buy that's going to make my art so much better. This is actually going to be different, and we're going to leave with things built. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to walk you through, and just anybody who knows me knows that sometimes I go over. So it might be 2:30. You might still be on here with me at 2:40 because we're going to make sure we're not done until everyone has what they need. So we're going to work on your ICA and your brand voice. We're going to set Claude up to know you and to always know you so you don't have to keep telling it things over and over and over again. And you're going to leave with your business cheat sheet. So it's going to be one downloadable doc. It's going to talk about what you sell, who you sell it to, how you sound, and all of that is going to be built in this session. Now, I want to reiterate to everybody, if you don't have anything to sell yet, if you don't know who your ICA is, that's okay. I don't want you to make things up when you're talking to Claude. I want you to answer truthfully, and I want you to let Claude know exactly who it's helping. So if you've sold nothing, say you've sold nothing. And what I'm actually going to be doing as I'm going through the prompts and getting interviewed by Claude myself, I'm actually going to pretend to be a brand new artist just starting off so that you can see that it still works. If you have an Etsy shop, if you are even to the point where you're on Fair, or you produce your own product, or you manufacture your own product, obviously you will answer these questions a little differently. One other thing that I want to talk to you about is this is kind of how the next 90 minutes are going to work with us. We're probably going to need more than 10 minutes with as many of you guys that are on this call, but I will answer as many questions as I can. And what I also want to let you guys know is that I will be saving the chat. So there most likely will be questions that I can't get to because we will run out of time, but I will be sending a follow-up email as well with any questions that I didn't get to, and I will make sure they are all answered. So put your question in, and don't worry if I can't get to it live on today's call. Again, our sacred line here, AI is going to run our business. It's never going to make our art. The art is going to stay yours. And I'm going to show you how to set up Claude if you're brand new to Claude to make sure that it is not actually using your information to help train the bots, right? I'm going to make sure that we set all of that up. So a lot of you guys have asked, and this is one of the last things we're going to talk about before we actually get into Claude and start this actual build. So why am I making Creative Systems Lab? Why is it just Claude? Now, I will tell you, because I'm a techie, because I was a programmer, I have been looking into AI since it came out, literally weeks after it came out. And there was a program called Jasper. And the joke is he was my second husband because I spent so much time talking to Jasper and learning Jasper and trying to figure out. And Jasper was one of the first kind of AI tools that came out. I have used all of them. Trust me, I've used Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Claude, Jasper. I've done all of them. And what I have found with Claude and why I use Claude and why I encourage people to switch to Claude, and there is a way, just so you know, that you can move your information from ChatGPT over to Claude if you decide you want to switch. I find that Claude writes better. I find that my voice is listened to better when I feed it my information on how I write. I feel like I can get it closer and train it, and it remembers better. And this is definitely going to be for us because all of us are creatives, right? We hand draw this art, we hand paint this art. We're real people. We're not some corporate business out there that doesn't care if what our emails sounds like a human or not, right? We want part of what our businesses are because a lot of us, our business names are our names. Okay. My business is Amanda Grace Design. That's me. So I need it to sound like me. I need it not to sound like computer jargon. I need it not to sound like a robot. And I have found that Claude writes better than any of them. Claude reasons more carefully. I find that once you set it up with all of your information, and again, this is a beginner lesson, but once you start getting into using Cowork, you use skills, you create all of these things, it just reasons more carefully. And Claude was originally built with safety in mind, with a heavy emphasis on safety and alignment. So that's why I trust it with my sensitive business information that I feed it. Now, for today, the free plan is enough. You're going to be able to do this. Now, if you've been playing around in the free plan, there is a chance during this call that you will be told, hey, you've run out of time. Do not worry about that. If you run out of time, just simply watch the rest of the session, and you can pick back up when you get the replay tomorrow morning. But again, I don't say this lightly because I know all of us have different financial, statuses of what we can afford and what we don't. But if you can afford $20 a month or to pay for the whole year at $17 a month, I would absolutely encourage you to do it. It is worth every single penny. Drink a couple coffees at your house instead of going to Starbucks and getting that venti brown sugar oat milkshake and espresso, which is my fave. And you are going to definitely be able to do a lot more with Claude on the paid session. But for today and session 2 in 2 weeks, the free plan is enough. All right, so let me get my screen shared here. So for this, I'm going to be using the Claude.ai. And this is a brand new, as you can see, this is a brand new, absolutely free session, free plan. It's telling me to upgrade. It's going to ask you to upgrade a lot. That's just, it's a business, right? Just like we're going to be asking people to buy stuff from us once we get our business sorted. It is going to be asking us to upgrade a lot. But you have a couple different, if you are on the Claude.ai, it looks like this. And if you are on the app, which is this little screen right here, the only difference you're going to see with the app is you are going to have something called Cowork, which I work primarily in, and you're going to have code. So unless you plan on coding a lot of things, you probably won't use that. But Cowork is an amazing little section of Claude. It's one of my favorite things to teach on, and I'll have a session on Cowork in the upcoming weeks. But for today, we're going to be in chat. Whether you are in chat on Claude.ai or you are on chat in your actual app, that is up to you. It will behave the same regardless, so there's no right or wrong to that. So one of the first things I want you to do, if you haven't done it already, especially if you are brand new to Claude, is down here at the bottom, you're going to see your name. When you set it up, it asks you for your name and what you want it to call, what you want Claude to call you. So obviously I have Creative Systems Lab here. So if you click on your name down here, I want everybody to go to Settings. Now, this is where you can tell it what you want it to call you. Okay, I just have Creative Systems Lab. Instructions for Claude. This is what we're going to be filling out today with our cheat sheet that we're going to build together. Mine is empty right now, as you can see. If you go to Account, again, this is going to show you where you're logged in. Privacy. So this is where I want everybody to go. And I want to make sure that help improve our AI models. If that is blue, make sure you turn that off, unless you don't mind helping the AI models. It's really up to you. But if you are worried about it using your information, make sure that is turned off. It automatically turns on location metadata. I turn this off as well because quite honestly, I'm not using AI to ask where to go on dates with my husband or what's the, somewhere to visit or restaurants. Like it doesn't need to know where I live. So I turn that off. Export data right here. This is where you can export your data. Let's say you're on Claude and you want to switch to Gemini or you want to switch to Perplexity or ChatGPT. This is where you can kind of export your data to be able to do that. And you can do that as well in ChatGPT to be able to not lose everything that you've built in ChatGPT to be able to bring over. If you go to capabilities, and this is another one that I want to make sure everyone, if you're following along, you do this. So see right here at the top, it says generate memory from chat history. So I don't know why, but Claude turns this off. And you know what? The whole point of this is that we want Claude to remember us because if Claude doesn't remember us, that's where we're having the frustration of why am I telling you this for the 10th time? Why do you keep screwing this up? No, I don't do this. I do this. Well, if memory is turned off, then it's not going to remember your chats. So we need to make sure everybody has memory turned on. Here's where, right here, it says import memory from other AI providers. So this is if, again, you want to switch from ChatGPT or one of the other AI models into Claude, but you don't want to lose everything you've created over the last few months or however long you've been using it. This is where you can do an import and you can import your information from your other models. So at this point, as long as everybody has memory turned on, and we have turned off help improve our AI models and turned off location metadata, we are ready to go. So I'm going to close out that. So basically when you start, if you're on you might have chats over here. Again, I wanted to make sure I was showing you guys on a brand new, fresh Claude account so that you know everything that I was doing is actually working. So one of the things that we have is we pretty much don't have anything at all. And I'm just going to ask a question. Well, what do you know about me? Two sentences. It knows absolutely nothing. It basically knows whatever I typed in. Remember when you first created your account, if you're brand new or if you've had your account for a while, it asked you like, what are you? And you had to pick from like this list of like technical engineer and all of that. It pretty much only knows that. Beyond that, I don't have any detailed memory stored in this conversation. And the reason why I did this is because I want to show you what's going to happen after we get through using our prompts, teaching it about our business. I'm going to ask it the exact same question. Okay. So I am going to delete that chat because I'm going to start just with a brand new chat. I'm going to go up to my session one prompts, little website that I created for you guys. Okay. If you haven't pulled it up, it's creativesystemslab.com/prompts/session-1. It should look like this. What I want you to do is where it says the interview, I want you to simply click on this little button. It'll say copied when it's copied. And you're going to go back into Claude and you're simply going to paste it. And the second session, that's in 2 weeks. Okay, I teach you how to prompt. Like really good prompts like this one that we're typing in here, where like Claude pushes back, Claude interviews you. It doesn't just turn into a yes man that lets you say whatever you want and it agrees with you. That's what really good prompt engineering is, and that's the next session. But for today, we're just going to use this prompt right here that I provided for you guys and hit the arrow, hit send. So one thing I want to do real quick, and somebody just asked this in the chat, down here at the bottom of your, where you can type in your information, where you see Sonnet 4.6. So there's a couple things here. So if you're on a free plan, I would recommend Sonnet 4.6 because it's, if you do, kind of any of the other models, it's just going to take up more of your context, and you're going to run out of time quicker. Okay. Effort, you can have low or medium. If you want, you can turn it to medium today if you'd like. Um, this is basically where it takes more effort. It thinks a little bit longer. Okay. So what I'm going to recommend today is either have it on low or medium. Remember this cheat sheet that we're creating today, these instructions that we're giving Claude, this is a living document. Okay, what we create today is not what should still be in Claude 6 months from now. As your business grows, you're going to be able to use these prompts and get it to re-interview you over and over again. And you're going to be able to add things. Hey, I made my first sale. Hey, I got my first licensing deal. I know what my ICA is a little better now, right? You're going to be tweaking it. But for today, if you're on a free plan, go ahead and keep it on low. If you're on a paid plan, you can switch it to medium or high. So it's going to start asking you questions. And at this point, what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to be answering these questions as a brand new business. Okay. And hopefully, you created a little document and you answered those 6 questions that I gave you ahead of time. And if you did, then you'll be able to just kind of copy and paste. But I'm going to be kind of going through and I'm saying I'm a surface pattern designer who creates painterly, nature-inspired florals and botanicals for fabric, wallpaper, and home decor. And I'm sold on Spoonflower and licensed to brands. I'm gonna give it that. Now, just so you know, the 6 questions that I gave you for that to prepare. Again, with really good prompt engineering, you can have it push back and ask additional questions. So this Claude's going to be asking you additional questions than technically those 6, because it's really going to try to push and say, hey, let's really figure out what your business is about. We've all heard the term, junk in, junk out, AI slop. The idea is I generated this prompt to make sure that it's not gonna give you slop. It's gonna keep pushing back and saying, hey, can you give me a little bit more? That wasn't quite enough. If there is a question that you just don't have the answer to, just say you don't know. Okay. So it's going to say, what do you actually sell? Walk me through every product, service, offer, right? I'm going to say, I am on Spoonflower and I have 4 collections in multiple scales. I haven't sold anything yet. I have also pitched for licensing, but haven't heard back from anyone yet. And the reason I'm doing this, and again, hopefully a lot of you guys on this call, you've made some sales, right? You've answered these questions, you've figured out who your ICA is a little bit. But again, the reason why I'm answering these questions as a beginner is because I had lots and lots of people email me and say, hey, I'm afraid that I'm not ready for this class. And here's the thing about Claude, and the reason why I want to give everybody on here permission to use AI for their business is because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And being able to tell Claude, hey, look, I haven't made any sales. My gosh, I've sent these pitch emails and I'm not hearing anything back. Claude's gonna be able to give me that pitch email. What'd you send? And it's gonna say, hey, here's how let's try this again. Let's tweak it. Based on what I know about your business, let's word it a little differently. Let's have a different cadence to how you're sending that pitch email. So it can help you even if you haven't sold anything, even if you're brand new. It can also, and you'll see once I'm done and I get my cheat sheet actually in my settings, I'm going to ask it some questions and I'm going to say, hey, what do you think I can do to start making money, or what should be my first priority? So it says your pre-revenue right now, building toward both retail sales and Spoonflower and licensing deals. Since you haven't sold anything yet, let me ask this differently. What are 3 patterns or collections you're most excited about? So I'm going to say I have a really awesome, and I'm just talking to it like a normal person, right? You don't need to get all crazy, right? Just talk how you speak. I have a really awesome Halloween collection that I think would be perfect for kids, PJs. I also mostly focus on vintage inspired floral patterns. So there was just a question, if I'm using free Claude, how long can I use it? So it depends on how much information you're putting in. Usually you get a couple hours, like 3 to 4 hours. If you're uploading a ton of stuff, and I'm going to be talking about this once we're all done and we're in kind of the Q&A section, there's ways to save your context that you may or may not know about that can really extend that free session. So that's where we're gonna learn how to kind of extend that. So Andy, the prep questions, yeah, you just signed up today, so unfortunately it didn't come through. So what you can do is you can just try to answer as best you can. Remember, this is a living document, everybody. Just whatever you put in here today doesn't mean you can't go through this whole interview again next week and take more time and fill the questions out more thoroughly. Okay. But we're walking through it together so that you kind of understand the flow and how it's going to work. So those two feel pretty diff. So it answered me back and it says Halloween kids PJs versus vintage florals. Is that contrast intentional or is one of them more the core you? And I'm going to say, probably the florals. Like I said, I'm just going to answer this as just a new person that doesn't really quite know, right? I'm looking for advice. I'm looking for someone to help kind of guide me through this. So we're going to go vintage florals is your real signature. What do you not do? You know what I don't do? And here's something. Guess what I don't do? And this is actually true for me. I I don't do spot graphics. I don't do wall art. And I don't want to do greeting cards. I am 100% seamless patterns. And that's true for me. If you look at my portfolio, if you look at my website, you look at my Instagram, um, if it's not a pattern, if it's not a product that a pattern can go on, I'm not pitching it because I decided a while back that I was going to niche down and I was going to do just seamless patterns. So again, if one of you on here, you're only greeting cards, make and you don't want to do seamless patterns, say, I don't want to do seamless patterns. Or, I don't want to do children's decor at all. I want to be, upscale home decor. Or maybe you just want to focus on, you know, um, floral and nursery and children's, right? And you don't want to do stuff for adults or you don't want to do kitchenware or something like that. If you know that, then make sure that you put that in here. Claude is scolding you, just so you know. That's all about the prompting, and that's what I'm going to be teaching you about in session 2. And I hope you guys don't mind being scolded, but you know what? We're all on here. We all have one goal, right? And our goal is to turn our hobby into a business. And the only way you can turn your hobby into a business is to stay focused. So my Claude scolds me all the time. Like it full on will refuse to do something for me and it'll say, you're being a squirrel, you're going down a rabbit hole. I'm not doing this until you can tell me that you've finished A, B, C, or D. And then once I tell it I've finished it, it's like, okay, I'll let you go down this rabbit hole. So it is the prompt that I gave you guys is set up to push back a little bit. So hopefully you guys are not offended by that and you're like, let's go. So I'm going to keep moving on with mine. So we're moving on to part 2, my ideal customer. So I'm going to say that my ideal customer, and this is true, makers, sewists, small home decor, brands who shop Spoonflower, right? That's my ICA. You may have obviously different ICA, but that's what I'm kind of putting in to mine. Perfect. What do they want most? What outcome are they trying to reach? right? When they go looking for a pattern like yours. Um, I'm going to say, let's see here. I have something a little typed because I did my little prep document. I'm going to say they want one of a kind fabric that feels calm and elevated, right? They hesitate because they're unsure how a print will look once it's, whether the colors will coordinate or whatever. They want to go to my Spoonflower shop and they want to see, look at that. Mandy has a hero pattern and there's that perfect coordinate that I can use for pillows. And there's another coordinate that would be perfect for, curtains or, a whole bed set or something like that. They want the confidence. They want to come in and say, she knows what she's doing. Here's a collection that works together, that's all coordinated. And that's what it's looking for. So that's what I'm going to tell Claude. Oh, what are they afraid of? Right? Now, here's a hard one. And just so you know, it's okay if you tell Claude you don't know how to answer this right now. If you don't know how to answer a question, tell it and it will move on. Okay. So don't make anything up. What I want to encourage everybody on this call to do is don't make anything up. Let Claude meet you where you are right now. It's going to be the most helpful the more honest you are. And I'm going to say, I'm going to answer this question just like that. I really don't know because I haven't made any Spoonflower sales yet. It's hard to answer some of these questions if you don't have testimonials, you don't have reviews, you don't know why people do or don't buy you because you're just starting out. So it's going to say, fair enough, you know what? We're going to leave that. We're going to leave that as a gap. We'll fill it later, right? Because this is a living document. We're going to be changing it. We're going to fill it later once you have real customer feedback. Where do your ideal customers hang out online? What platforms, communities, groups? So I'm going to say Facebook groups, maybe for sewists, maybe for small Etsy shops. Maybe I have a lot of people that buy off Spoonflower for me that run small Etsy shops and they sew like little girls' dresses and matching, mom and daughter or dad and son aprons, things like that. And they buy the fabric in bulk and then they make and sell. So I'm going to say Facebook groups. I'm going to say Etsy communities. And I'm going to say Pinterest. Because a lot of people, I mean, especially if you're looking to get into the home decor crowd, a lot of people have their boards and everything on Pinterest where they're going and they're trying to find fabric or they're looking at mock-ups for fabric and links for fabric on how to, coordinating complementary different fabrics and gifts that they can buy, right? Or let's say you're not Spoonflower and you actually have a shop, whether it's a drop ship, printful shop, it's, you're on, Shopify or you're on Etsy or whatever. And let's say you make things that could be good for Father's Day gifts or Mother's Day gifts or birthday gifts or greeting cards. Where are people going to search for those things? Okay. Is it Amazon? Is it Etsy? Are they on Pinterest? So put that in there. Any specific Facebook groups or Pinterest search terms you've noticed them using? I'm going to say again, I'm pretending like I'm brand new. So I'm going to say, no, I don't have that information yet. So if your Claude is saying that Fable 5 is not available, no. So there should be a little X where you can close that out. So basically what happened is Claude launched Fable 5 about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and then it got kind of shut down by the government because it got hacked pretty quickly. And there were people that were using it, so it just constantly reminds people that Fable 5 is no longer available. It does not Fable 5, it would not be anything we would use anyway. Fable 5 is so over the top. It's for your coders, things like that. Using Fable 5 for what we're doing today, would be like, I don't know, I don't even know a description. But no, don't worry about it. It's overkill. Yes, thank you. Thank you, overkill. My brain works, I promise. So go ahead and just, if that's bothering you that it's saying that, there should be a little X and you can close that. All right, it told me no worries. Another gap will fill with real data layer. What words or phrases do your ideal customers actually use when they talk about what they're looking for? So I'm going to say coordinating, home decor fabric, vintage. What's cottage core is really big right now. Hand painted florals. I actually, a lot, if any of you guys have followed me or have seen any of my art, I always create in very kind of muted, more vintage muted tones. I am not a bright pop of color kind of person, but so if you're more of a maximalist or a minimalist, or you only create in super bright neon colors or things like that, you can use some of those terms. I'm going to say muted. It keeps switching my thing. Color palette. All right, just want to make sure. So I am now on to part three, and I know, like I said, some of you guys are going to be following along. Some of you guys are not going to be following along. I just want to make sure. Just want to check really quick. Um, if anyone has like is stuck, something's not working for them. I just want to look at the chat really quick. Yes, Laura, absolutely. If you haven't done much with your ICA, you just say you don't know. You can also add information of what you would hope your ICA would be. And sometimes, guess what? When we're just beginning, our ICA is ourselves, right? I don't know about you guys, but when I first started out, I created things that I would want to buy. So I was my own ICA. And that's kind of what you have to do. You have to create some sort of ICA, even if you're just talking about yourself at the beginning, to give Claude a little bit of information. And then when you start getting sales, when you start getting more of a following, when you can start making a dent, maybe getting an email list, start a new email funnel, all of those businessy things, then you can start to really fine tune. I've now had enough purchasers, enough licensing companies and students, et cetera, that I can actually give it a real ICA. But at the beginning, I used myself. So I would say, Teresa, I would say that most of our customers, at least from my point of view, when I was first starting out, are on Pinterest and are looking on Spoonflower. So that would just be a really easy way to answer that. And like I said, this is a living document. We're going to be changing it as our business grows. So I'm going to move on to part three for myself. And it says, if you have to describe your brand voice in 5 words, what would they be? Now, this is one of the hardest things. I have a really hard time describing my brand voice. Um, I don't know why, but most of us probably do. I just talk how I talk, right? Like my brand voice is just me. I'm a pretty just kind of sit down at a coffee shop kind of conversation person. I'm like that when I teach. I'm like that when I'm talking with customers as well. I try to be very approachable. Um, so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to say, describe my brand voice. I'm going to say calm, painterly. I'm very feminine in what I draw. I'm very floral. I'm the muted colors. I'm very vintage, kind of cottage core. I'm warm. I try to be heartfelt. I say, fresh, handmade, heartfelt, nature's beauty, things like that when I'm describing kind of my art and my florals. And what I'm going to put in here as well is I'm also going to say I never sound corporate. I never sound salesy, or I never sound hypey. I'm not one of those people that I'm like, 2 minutes left and you're gonna miss it, or only two more coupons left that for $50 off. Like I'm not like a used car salesman kind of a thing, right? I try to be very down to earth and I'm selling my story as well as my art. So I want to try to put that in there. If you don't have five specific words, just type out a sentence or something kind of like what I just said that, hey, I try to be approachable. I try to be, down to earth. Just give it stuff like that and it'll get the idea. It'll kind of get the gist. So I'm going to say that. So it just said, hey, I'm going to pull a few things out and ask separately because, it's saying, hey, I don't know if I really like your answer there, right? It's being a little pushy for me. And it says, fresh, handmade, heartfelt, and nature's beauty. Are those actual phrases you use in your listings or captions, or more of just how you describe your vibe? And I'm going to say I probably just how I describe my vibe. I speak like I am talking to a friend, and I am always trying to be approachable and down to earth with how I speak to my clients and potential customers. All right, and it says talking to a friend, that's a really clear North Star for your voice. So it really liked that, right? So it pushed back and said, hey, I don't really like how you just answered that. And this is going to be your cheat sheet for your whole business that I'm going to be using from here on out. So let's really dive deep. Do you have any phrases you find yourself writing or saying repeatedly? Even small things like how you open a caption, sign off an email, describe your process. So I always talk about homeschooling, my cat Cheeseball, and how I use Procreate for all of my designs. And let's see, I'll just do that for now. So again, like I said, you can redo this entire interview over and over and over again and add more and more as you kind of sit. If you didn't do the prep document or as it's asking these kind of follow-up questions, if you're like, hey, I'm not prepared for that, I need to think about that for a little bit, you can redo this interview as many times as you want. You can do it months from now. It's still gonna ask you the same question and give you the same cheat sheet for us to be able to paste into our custom instructions. What words or phrases would you never use? Oh, my gosh. Um, Holy cow. I don't really, well, no, I do use that, but I'm just thinking of silly little words. Other than that, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, I don't use holy cow. And then I'm going to say, other than that, I don't know. But if you use something I don't like, I will tell you then. Because sometimes, like when you're put on the spot like this, I don't know what things I hate, right? Um, but you know it when you see it. And that's part of kind of the AI slop that we're trying to get rid of by doing this cheat sheet and getting everything set up. Sometimes you don't know what you don't like till you see it. So I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I don't know. But let me tell you, you give me something I don't like, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna push back and I'm gonna tell you. Does your voice shift depending on where you're writing? And I'm going to say no. I want to create a brand voice that is the same no matter what I am doing. Emails, Pinterest, proposals, captions on social media, blog, newsletter, no matter what it is. Because one thing that you need to do as a brand, and this is kind of when you start expanding, people need to know it's you. Okay. And so if you have a different voice for Instagram than you do for your blog, and you have a different voice or you talk differently in your newsletter than you do on Pinterest, people are going to get confused. So you want to have kind of one solid kind of core brand voice that is the same no matter what you're doing. And telling Claude this is going to really help when we start learning how to do Pinterest pins, or we start learning how to do our descriptions and our tags for our Spoonflower shops, or our Pinterest or whatever else. So I'm going to say, nope, I want a brand voice that's the same no matter what I'm doing. And if somebody just said, you could just say, let's start over. It's probably the right way. Thank you. Okay. So, yes. So if you want to redo this, personally, I would start just in a new chat. Because again, there's going to be something else I'm going to talk about once we're done with this, and your chats, and maybe some of you guys have had this where they start compacting. Have you had Claude say compacting this conversation? I'm going to talk to you about that once we're done actually building and we're in the Q&A section. And so it's always better to start a new chat. If you have a chat that is too long, it's going to start compacting itself. And every time it compacts, it loses a little bit of that data and it starts getting dumber and dumber and dumber. So I would recommend starting just a brand new chat. Leave your old chat there in case you ever need to go back and copy anything from it. Consistent voice everywhere. Okay, so if you're to this point, and hopefully you are because you're following along, it's going to give you a little paragraph and say, hey, does this kind of sound like you? Now, I want you guys to know that we are going to be refining this voice, and you can refine this voice later as you go. If this is the first time you guys are doing this, it might not necessarily sound exactly like you, especially if you have a newsletter, you have a blog, you have all of these things. Because to truly get your voice set up on Claude, and I'm going to have a session on this in the next couple weeks, you have to feed it actual information from yourself, whether it's videos of you talking, or it's your Instagram captions, or it's your newsletter, or things that you've truly written. The more that you give it that you've truly written, the better it will be able to mimic you, to the point where no one would be able to know that AI wrote it versus you, because it's going to learn your voice so well. It's trying its best right now based on the few questions that it's answered. So unless it is totally off the mark, I want you to just kind of read this over. So I'm going to read mine. It says, this collection started the way most of my designs do. A walk outside, a flower I couldn't stop thinking about, and a few hours in Procreate while the kids are doing their lessons and cheese balls asleep on my desk. Oh my gosh, I hate this. I'm going to say, heck no, don't like this. This sounds fake. I am usually ponytail, maybe still in my PJs, trying to survive, right? Anybody with me on that? Let's remember, I want to sound like I am having a conversation with a friend. And I would never, my best friend is on this call right now, and I would never be like, Suzanne, I just walked outside in a flower and while my kids were doing their lessons. Because as we both know, homeschooling, yeah, half the time my kids didn't want to do their lessons. So that's a fib. So I'm gonna say, heck no, I don't like this. This sounds fake. I'm usually ponytail, maybe some of my PJs, trying to survive. Let's remember, I want to sound like I'm having a conversation with a friend, and I want to sound authentic. Can I zoom in on my browser screen? Is that a little, whoops, is that a little better? Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so it redid it. It says, okay, so I painted this one in Procreate during what was supposed to be math time. Cheese ball was absolutely in the way the whole time. And honestly, I think it's one of my favorites. Vintage floors, muted tones, the whole vibe. You know what? I'm going to say yes. Perfect. Now remember, we're going through this really quickly, and as we're refining and going through this process again, it'll get better and better. So, all right, we're on our last section, part 4. What drives you nuts about how AI usually writes? And I'm going to say, what's the one thing that everybody tells us not to use? M dashes. And that's really hard for me because I'm actually an M dash user. Like I was an M dash user before it was ChatGPT M dashes, right? So I actually use M dashes a lot, and it's not AI, it's actually me writing, but I'm going to say don't use M dashes. Don't sound corporate. Don't sound like a used car salesman. Don't um, be overly enthusiastic. And the reason I'm putting that in there, have you guys ever had Claude or ChatGPT or something like be like, yeah, you're amazing. This is all, and it's like, wait, like I asked you to do something simple. I don't need, my ego boosted right now. I need you to do the work for me, Claude. So M dashes, for anybody who doesn't know, is when they write there, but it's overused. So it'd be write, and then it'd be like a dash, and then write something else. So there's like all your writing has these little dashes in it, and which is sad because I actually do that naturally. So I'm going to say M dashes, don't sound corporate, don't sound like a used car salesman, don't be overly enthusiastic. So just so you know, I am going to talk about what you do to make sure Claude doesn't become dumber. Like if your chats, I'm going to be talking all about that. So don't worry about that. That's going to be in the Q&A. And I've got a whole thing that I'm going to show you guys what to do if your chat starts compacting, and some little tricks that I have about how you can figure out if Claude is getting dumber and dumber. So I have all of these tricks I'm going to tell you guys as well. How long should my answers usually be? I'm going to say short and tight. Again, especially if you're on the free plan. Okay. There's nothing that bugs me more. That's when I ask a question and Claude's like, let's say I say, how do I'm just going to be something silly. How do I cut my cat cheese balls claws? you know, and it'll say, oh, the dreaded cat claw clipping saga. It'll say things like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. Just tell me how to clip the dang claws. So that's one of the things. So I'm going to say short and tight. If I need it to say more, I will ask it to say more. But this is another way that you can save your context, and you can make sure that it's not going to be compacting or losing or becoming dumber. One last thing, when I'm missing something I need to write for you, should I ask you or make my best guess? Okay, and I did this on purpose. I added this into the prompt on purpose. Ask me. Okay. You never want Claude to make its best guess. Okay. Because that's when you start getting into trouble. That's when it just starts hallucinating and making things up. All right. So before I continue, I want to know, I'm going to try to look at all of your all screens. Can I get a hands up if you guys are all ready? Is everybody at the point where it says ready to build your reference document? If you go down to the bottom, you're going to see reactions, and you can put your hand up, or you can do a little thumbs up. And if you're not there yet, I'll just give just a couple more minutes. And we're actually doing amazing on time right now. So I think we might have about 20 minutes to be able to do some Q&As. And like I said, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of new little tips and tricks on how you can use Claude and make it work better for you. Jackie, I'm so sorry. Claude is still giving you the third degree, but it's worth it. I promise. There is nothing worse than a AI agent that just agrees with you and just thinks everything's amazing all the time, even when it's not. So I promise you, I did this on purpose. And again, you can redo this later, okay? These prompts are going to be here, that link to that page where you can copy those prompts. It's not going anywhere. It's still going to be there for you. The replay that I send you guys tomorrow is going to not only have a link to this replay, it's going to have a PDF that kind of walks you through everything we just did. and you're going to have the prompts and everything. So don't stress if you get a little behind and you're not all the way to where we are right now. If it ends up getting too much and you're like, it's too much, I can't follow along, then I'd highly recommend just kind of sitting back, listening and watching and kind of absorbing that way. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I was a doer. Like I could read something 15 times or I could do it once, right? And doing, I always learned quicker than trying to read and read and read. So if you're stuck, don't worry about it. So what we're going to do is I am at this point right here. So it says I have everything I need ready to build your reference document. If you are at this point or when you get to this point, you're going to go back to our prompts page and you are going to copy prompt number 2. Now, the reason you want to copy prompt number 2 and you don't just want to say, yes, build the document, is because, again, prompting is key. And that's what I'm going to be teaching in the next session. And this isn't just me saying yes. This is actually, this prompt is actually giving it structure, telling it exactly what I want it to look like, how I want it to create the information and the cheat sheet. So go ahead and paste this in and hit go. Now this we're going to call, and this is what I want to talk about to you guys. So there's something called a markdown file. And a markdown file, don't let it scare you, just like a Photoshop is a .psd and a Word document is a .doc and a .pdf and all of those things. The only thing a markdown file is, consider a markdown file like the Word document for large language models. And large language models are ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. It's basically documents that don't have a lot of fluff in it and they're organized really, really well. Let's see here. Chad, did you have a question or are you raising your hand to let me know you're good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, I can't hear you. Okay. Okay. So what we have here and what I want you guys to look at. So when it's done, and this is going to be our cheat sheet. Now, your cheat sheet might be the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life, or you might have to run through this again, obviously with more detailed answers and go through the interview again. But there's a couple things I want you guys to do. So this cheat sheet is your living, breathing document, okay? And this is what's called a .md file. Again, that's nothing to be scared of. A .md file is just a file that ChatGPT and large language models just read really easily. Okay, so it's nothing to be scared of. You can open these in Word, you can open them in Adobe, you can open them in your text document or text program. But what this is we're going to read through and we are going to kind of read through what it said. Now, you're probably wondering why I didn't have the original prompt ask you what your business name was, right? Because that should have been really easy for me to put in that prompt. But the reason that I didn't do that is because I want to show you that, again, this is a living, breathing document. We can change it. So what we're going to do is let's say there's something in here that you don't like, or there are things where we didn't answer it properly and it's going to have need more detail. See, so I have it programmed that it needs more detail on certain things. Like maybe we didn't answer it correctly, or, hey, do you have like some Spoonflower links that I can look at? Like do you have a website? Things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over in here and I'm going to have my cheat sheet to the right. And this is what's called in techie speak. This is what's called an artifact. So if you ever hear somebody talk about an artifact in Claude, it just means that it's just how it shows you your document in the right, and they call it an artifact. So What we're going to do over here to the left is I'm going to say, hey, my brand name isn't in this, if I can type correctly, isn't in this document. Can you add my brand slash business name to the top? It is Amanda Grace Design. And I'm going to hit enter. And what you'll do is it'll say, hey, I'm working, I'm doing it. And if you have it up over here, you see it automatically changed it for me. Okay. So the reason that I didn't have it asked is because I wanted to show you guys that you can edit this on the fly. So let's say you're like, hey, I found out what Facebook group they hang out in. They hang out in, quilters are awesome on, community group on Facebook. You can actually go in here and say, hey, change the Facebook group to quilters are amazing on Facebook is where they hang out. And it will automatically change it and tweak it. So now once we have this, okay, so we're going to assume for time's sake, we're going to assume this cheat sheet is great. So what we're going to do, we're going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to save it, okay? Because you want to make sure you save this. So you can do that two ways. I highly recommend you download it as an MD file. What I also would recommend for you is to create a Claude folder. You can create it on a Google Drive. You can create it on your desktop if you have an external drive, but I would literally just create a folder and call it Claude. And I would save it in there. So I would download it as an MD file and I would save it as that. Now, if you would like to also save a PDF version of your cheat sheet, it says print as PDF, but what you do is if you click on print as PDF, where it says destination, where you would actually choose your actual printer here, you can actually do save as PDF and then it'll actually save it as a PDF, okay? So make sure we get that saved. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and this is kind of the whole purpose of this whole session, is we're going to click copy. And it's going to copy everything in here. And it's going to tell you it copied it. I'm going to close out this on the side. When you close out your little working document here, it still keeps your chat. It just closes out, being able to look at that little artifact there, that MD document. We're going to go back down here to our name. Remember when at the very beginning, when we clicked on it, we went to settings. And where it says instructions for Claude, we're going to paste essentially what we just did. And there's one thing I'm going to get you to actually add to this. And this is a little trick that I've learned. And at the very top, I'm going to click right where it says My Creative Business Cheat Sheet. I'm going to just create a new line and I'm going to say, start every response to me with Mandy. And this is why we're going to do this. So as Claude starts getting kind of dumber and dumber and dumber, because it's, you're using up your tokens, your chat is way too long and it's got to keep rereading all these things. And it gets kind of dumber and dumber. One of the first things that's going to go is what's saved in these instructions. So if you say start every response to me with Mandy, you'll notice as it starts to get dumber and dumber, it'll stop calling you Mandy and it'll just say, yeah, great idea. Or sure, I'll do that for you. And it should be Mandy, I will do that for you. Mandy, that's a great idea. This is not foolproof. Okay, just so you know, it's not foolproof, but it's just a little thing that you can do that kind of will give you a heads up if you start having some issues where it's starting to forget. So once that's pasted in there, we're going to close this out. Now, do you remember um, when I first started this, and I asked it to tell me in 2 sentences about me. And it said I was some technical developer or something because it didn't know anything. Well, now that we've saved those instructions in there, I'm going to say, I've started a brand new chat. Can you tell me about my business in 3 to 4 sentences? And I'm going to hit enter. And now it has that cheat sheet that we just did. And it's going to say, Mandy, you're a surface pattern designer behind Amanda Grace Design, creating painterly, nature-inspired florals and botanicals for fabric, wallpaper, and home decor. You sell seamless patterns on Spoonflower across 4 collections and are actively pitching licensing deals to brands. Your signature work is vintage-inspired florals with a Halloween collection positioned for kids' PJs as a seasonal standout. Your voice is calm, warm, and real, fresh, handmade, and heartfelt. So it now is going to know that no matter how many chats you create, no matter how many projects you create, it has that cheat sheet now. Okay. So I'm going to ask it a question. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, since I haven't made any money based on what you know about me, what should my top priority be? See, it's starting every response with my name, okay, because we told it to. It says your top priority should be driving traffic to your Spoonflower shop. You have product ready, so the gap is eyeballs. Absolutely. I do this on my coaching calls all the time. Everyone's art, it's never the art. It's that nobody knows your art's there, right? So the gap is the eyeballs. People aren't seeing it. Pinterest is the highest leverage move for a visual, nature-inspired brand like yours. Your ideal customer is already there searching cottagecore fabric and hand-painted florals, which are literally your words. So you could continue this conversation and ask it more information about, okay, what are some of the things I should do? Should I focus on Instagram? Can you help me with my pin, tags and descriptions and stuff like that? You can start asking it because now it has that cheat sheet for your business. It knows your ICA, it knows what you're trying to do, it knows where they're located and all of that. Okay. Now, one thing I want to show really quickly, and then we're going to open it up to questions and we can go over 2:30 if we need to. If you start having your Claude, if it starts compacting your conversation. So the very first time it compacts a conversation, it's not a big deal. If you guys understand what like a zip file does, right? Like a zip file will take, multiple files and zip them together and make it smaller, right? It basically just is like a vacuum sealer where it just sucks out the air. It's not changing what's inside. It's just kind of getting rid of, extra spaces and filler words that don't matter. Once you get past that first compaction, if you're on your second or your third or your fourth, it will start deleting important information. So what I want you to do is if you're in a session and it compacts for you, I want you to say, whoops, in the actual chat, I want you to say, create a handoff.md file for this entire conversation so that I can start over in a fresh chat. Okay. And you don't even have to be that specific. You can literally just say, create a handoff doc. You can also say, create a handoff doc, MD file called Pinterest or something. I mean, you can like tell it what to call it. Tell it to create a handoff doc. Okay. Most of the time you can't catch it before it does that first compaction because it does it really without notification. It just is like you're in the middle of talking and it's like, I'm compacting your conversation. It's going to create this handoff doc. Okay. Here it is, Pinterest.md. Remember, it's that MD file. That's what they read. Okay. What you're going to do is you can either copy it, go over here, start a new chat, paste it, and then continue talking. Or where was I? Where was my first thing? Yeah. Or you can download it. Okay. So let's say I download it to my downloads folder. You can create a new chat and then you can actually attach the Pinterest.md file and say, let's continue where we left off. Okay. And then it'll read that and it will keep going. Now, one of the things let me take this off screen share for a second. So, one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about to save context, and this is whether you're in ChatGPT, whether you're in Claude or anything, is a lot of people will attach a PDF file, and PDFs are not in computer speak, right? I don't speak any foreign languages, right? If somebody sent me a document in Spanish, I mean, yeah, I could sit with a book and figure out what it says or the gist of it, or I could upload it to Google and say, hey, translate this for me. But I'd be going the long way around trying to translate it. So, one of the best things you can do to save on your context and to be able to keep ChatGPT or Claude, like I said, I'm a Claude gal, from working more efficiently is if you have PDF documents about your business. There are online PDF converters that convert a PDF to an MD file. If you convert your PDFs to MD files and you give, Claude 5 MD files to read versus 5 PDFs to read, it's going to use barely any context and any tokens reading those 5 MD files versus it could use up half your tokens trying to read 5 PDF files because it's essentially having to translate it into its own speak. Even though you and I can read it, and obviously it looks fine, to a computer, to a large language model, it looks completely different. So that's a big tip for saving your tokens and saving your context. If you're feeding it a lot of PDFs, go online. There's a lot of free PDF to MD converters on there. Convert your PDFs to MDs and feed the MDs to Claude. All right. So we are now officially, I know we technically only have like 8 minutes, but we can go over. So does anybody have any questions? You are welcome to unmute and ask, or if you don't want to do that, you can put it in the chat. I've got the chat up right now and I am reading it. Let's see what we've got. Whew. And remember, I'm not going to be able to get to every single question, but don't stress. I'm saving this chat and I will be answering all of them on in an email back to you guys. Chad, do you want to unmute and ask?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Oh, I still can't hear you.
Mm,
Can anyone else? Really? Am I the only one that can't hear? Okay, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Speaker, speaker, speaker. Okay, say something.
Hello.
Yes, I got you.
There we go.
That technology, Chad. It's a doozy. All right, what you got?
So, when we did the next chat after doing the document, when we did the next chat, my one said that unfortunately I can't go back and reread previous conversations directly. I only have access to what's been captured in my memory summaries. But I'd done the thing in the settings that we did at the start with the
Did
thing
you
then.
paste your cheat sheet in your custom instructions?
No, right, okay. So whatever it is you're doing, you need to paste a
Yes.
MD file.
Yes, you need to, yeah. So our cheat sheet needs to go in those saved instructions.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is kind of a beginner. Now, once we get into Cowork, when
Yeah.
I teach you guys Cowork, which works best with the with a paid like $20 a month. Once we get into Cowork and projects, then it's a little different. It can any project, any chat that's within a project, it can read all of those.
Okay.
But in the meantime, to make sure every individual chat has your basic business information, that's what pasting that cheat sheet in the custom instructions is going to get you. So make sure you do that and then ask that question again, and I bet it'll answer it differently.
Awesome. Thank you.
Uh-huh. So Karen said, I have a paid account. Should I be making a project or use a new chat? So I am the next session, which again, just so you guys know, is completely free, just like this, start to finish teaching. The next session, which is in 2 weeks, is going to be all about projects and proper prompting. So you guys can get prompts like what I gave you, where it pushes back and it asks you questions and it really helps. And it's not just that yes man that we don't like. So yes, I work in projects. I tend to only do just individual chats for just random things that I'm asking. And once you really get deep into Claude and you're really using it and you're almost treating it like your virtual assistant, like your coworker, that's when we're going to be in Cowork, doing projects, setting up skills, running scheduled tasks, having it do things for us that we don't even have to do. And we just wake up in the morning and it's like, good morning, Mandy. Here's your emails you need to answer today. And, it'll just do it all for you. But again, we're building, right? We're going to start at the beginning and we're going to make sure we're all building at the same level. Um, Claude keeps giving me an approval step. Is this normal? I guess, Judy, I would need to know exactly what it's asking you for that approval step. Okay, so let me share my screen for you guys really quick. So if you go to Creative Systems Lab, me and my lab coat. So session 1 is here, it's free. Session 2 is in 2 weeks, also completely free. You guys are going to get the registration for that in your email with the replay tomorrow. And the reason I have both of these free is because if you don't want to do anything beyond these first 2 free sessions, I have set you up to go running. Okay, you're gonna be set up knowing what projects are. You're gonna be able to prompt good. We're gonna have everything set up for your business. If you want to continue, Creative Systems Lab is gonna get more specific. Okay, so the first paid session is gonna be we're gonna build lead magnets and welcome email sequence, and we're really gonna hone your voice. We're gonna look at, I'm gonna have a session where we really get Claude to hone in on what's our offer and why would people buy from us than someone else, right? Get found on SEO across Etsy, Pinterest, Google, caption and content system. We're gonna learn how to build our own skills. We're going to learn how to do scheduled tasks. So Claude does stuff for us and we don't have to do it. It just does it on its own. We're going to learn how to create automations. I'm going to talk to you about MCP servers and all these kind of more advanced things. And there's going to be much more. So my goal is every 2 weeks, I'm going to have a session. And the reason I'm doing this a la carte and not a membership is because not everyone is where they need to be to take some of these classes. So they're all just going to be a la carte. Take the ones that, are for your business. Don't take the ones that aren't. You'll be able to buy them after the fact, but you just won't get the live portion with me. So if like 2 months from now you're like, hey, I'm ready to build my lead magnet, and my 5 email welcome sequence to bring people into my email list, and you weren't ready for it on July 2nd, you'll be able to buy the replay later. You just won't have it live with me for Q&A. And there's going to be even more. I'm going to be teaching, like I said, about Cowork. I'm going to be teaching you guys a whole bunch of stuff, and all of it's going to be related to creative businesses, not just generic businesses, but artists like us who don't know how to even start the business side and don't know where to go. Um, oh, my screen isn't sharing. Did my screen not share that? Sorry. You know what, guys? It's okay. It's okay. Just go to creativesystemslab.com. All of them are there, and it's written with the dates and what I'm teaching and so on and so forth. But the next session in 2 weeks is just like this. It's absolutely free, no strings attached. If you're done after the next session, that's perfectly fine. I still want to make sure you're set up to be able to do what you need to do. Let me see if there's any more questions. I know it's 2:30. Okay, so what about if I already have a history and several chats going with Claude, will this prompt help refine current information? Yes, it will. So if you've already been in Claude and you have your memory and everything already turned on, it will help you just to kind of, it'll answer some of the questions. And what you can do is when you start with the initial prompt one, you can say, go through these questions first. Are there any that you can go ahead and answer based on what you know about me? And ask me for more information or more details for what you don't know about me, something like that. And it can start pulling that information. You're seeing my notes app. Why in the world? So you're not seeing me right now? Oh, you know what, guys? We're good. See, technology, who needs it, right? All right, so guys, I am going to look at all of the questions in the chat. Remember, this is a living document, okay? I would recommend redoing this and having it re-interview you at least every 3 months, okay? As you start learning how to use Claude, you know, more efficiently and you're in Cowork and you're using projects and things like that, it's going to be less about copying everything into the instructions, and it's going to be more about creating customized skills for ourselves. So essentially, skills are, you know, basically prompts where it learns information. So I have a skill specifically for Creative Systems Lab. So every time I want to, create something or maybe look at a Pinterest post or something like that, I'm like, hey, load the CSL skill. And then I don't have to tell it everything. That skill has everything it needs. It has like SOP documents. That's another thing I'm going to teach is how to create SOP documents, standard operating procedures on how you do things in your business. And all of this, the goal of Creative Systems Lab is to free up your time to be able to do what we got into this for. And that's to be able to draw and create art and not have all of our time spent on this business stuff. So I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself. I hope you guys have learned a lot. And I hope to see all of you guys back in session 2. And remember, check your email tomorrow morning. I will be sending the replay and the PDF with all the prompts and everything, and also a link to register for session 2. So you guys have an amazing rest of your week and a great weekend. And hopefully I will see most of you guys in 2 weeks. All right, bye everybody.